Hey there, welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for August 26th, 2019. So this week we have a lot of interesting energy going on. This week is all about change. We will have several planets trine Uranus. We'll also have a new moon in the sign of Virgo, and Venus will trine Saturn. So as always, I'm excited to share the astrology of this week with you. And then I have 3 tips for you to make the most out of this week. So before we jump into the tips though, I have a lunar report that I want to share with you. And so this is really just looking at the emotional tone of the week. We're moving from the waning phase of the lunar cycle to the waxing phase because we have a new moon happening this week. So waning phase is between the full moon and the new moon. So it's the point when the moon is starting to become smaller and smaller in the sky from our view. And then the waxing, of course, is when the moon starts to become bigger in the sky. And so, all right, we start off the week with the moon in Cancer, Monday and Tuesday. So moon in Cancer is highly emotional, highly sensitive. People that have the moon in Cancer in their birth chart tend to be very emotionally sensitive, very intuitive. There is a tenderness there. There is this ability to really tune in to what's happening, and there's an ability to just walk into the room and to feel what is happening at a very deep level. So when this is happening in the sky, this can mean that we feel more emotionally sensitive. Of course, that depends on your temperament and your set point. But, in general, everyone, when the moon is in the sign of Cancer, will tend to feel this heightened sense of sensitivity and intuition. So the moon changes signs on Tuesday. Changes from, Tuesday at 4:53 p.m. Pacific time. It'll move into the sign of Leo. And then the moon will be in Leo Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Moon in the sign of Leo, there's a more playful kind of energy. Leo is about expressiveness. It's also about being appreciated and expressing from a place of joy and excitement. There's a youthful kind of vibe there. At the same time, Leo also has a strong leadership energy as well. So if you have your moon in the sign of Leo in your birth chart, all of these things are important to you always. And then when the moon is in Leo, we all get to experience this as a collective as well. So the emphasis is more on self-expression, and if you can position yourself to be around people who really appreciate you, who you can feel open to express around, even in leadership areas as well, that can be very beneficial. And then Thursday through Saturday, the moon will be in Virgo. So the moon is going to move into Virgo on Thursday at 4:57 p.m. Pacific time. And then, of course, we'll have the new moon in Friday. I'm going to talk a lot more about that in a moment. But just looking at the moon in the sign of Virgo, Virgo is more analytical. There's more of a sense of practicality, of discerning, and of purpose. So people that have their moon in the sign of Virgo, they tend to be very analytical. They tend to get comfort from pulling things apart and putting them back together, from looking at processes, from having a process in their life. They like to think about things and to figure things out. So we all get to experience this with the moon being in the sign of Virgo. And this is extra important, of course, because our new moon is in Virgo. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I would say there's that emphasis on analyzing things and thinking about things. I mean, it is a new moon time, so it is going to be more introverted. Regardless, it may be a time where you're really reflecting on your life and reflecting on your priorities. The other piece of Virgo moon too is that I always encourage people that have Virgo moon to focus on self-acceptance, because there can be this drive to always improve and to always be better, or to meet a very high standard that sometimes is unachievable and sometimes not even desirable, because that standard comes from something that you don't even value. So we'll talk more about moon and Virgo with the new moon segment in a moment. But I just want you to know to be gentle with yourself when the moon is in Virgo. So moon will change signs Saturday at 4:08 p.m. Pacific time. And then the remainder of Saturday and Sunday, the moon will be in Libra. So moon in Libra is about making things balanced and fair, harmonious, like no choppy waves or anything like that. People with the moon in Libra love for everyone just to like get along, everything to be cool and chill, like no agitations. They also really want things to be fair. So those may be emphasized themes this weekend. Moon in Libra is great for socializing, especially for where it's like keeping things light and easy, and also an emphasis again on the beauty as well, because Venus is ruled by Libra. All right, so that's your lunar report. Let's dive into the transits. I'm going to take a little sip of tea. So we have a cluster of planets that will be trine to Uranus, and I want to kick off this transit with a quote. This is attributed to Socrates. He said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but instead on building the new." And I thought this was really perfect for this particular transit, because we have so much energy that's linking to Uranus, and Uranus is about change. So Uranus can go a few different ways. It can show where there is something that happens, that there is a change and it's totally unexpected and out of nowhere. It can be difficult to say what's going to happen when a person has a Uranus transit in their birth chart, because the nature of it is that it's unpredictable. The other way that this can go is that a person can feel a desire for freedom and for change. But often that change is directed towards having more options, more room to grow, room to be, room to figure it out. There can be this desire for novelty, for the unknown. So that's Uranus. The planets that are making this aspect are Venus, Mars, the Sun, and Mercury. Holy cow, 4 planets, right? So what does this all mean? So all of these different pieces can symbolize situations in your life. They can symbolize a part of you. It really depends on how your birth chart is set up and what's happening in your world right now. But let's kind of go through it just to talk about it and see how this may apply. So Venus, of course, is relationships. It's also love, beauty, aesthetics. It's things that we are allured towards, that we're drawn towards, or your ability to allure people and situations, and to just be attractive in general. And when I say attractive and allure, I don't mean about physical beauty, although that could be an element of it. Venus, the allure is more about like this spark of attraction. This and you know, again, it doesn't have to be sexual or romantic. It can just be that you are drawn towards things that have certain qualities, you know, your favorite colors or your favorite foods, or the kind of people that you like. They have these qualities that you find delightful. So that's all Venus stuff. So Venus Uranus tends to show where we want more of a sense of freedom in relationships, or we want to be a different way in relationships. Mars, in contrast, is about physical vitality. It's about how it is that you stand up for yourself. It is about courage and this sense of like, I'm going to do it and you're not going to stop me. So Mars, Uranus is definitely this vibe around asserting yourself and doing things very quickly and unexpected. Again, Mars can just be simply about taking action. The Sun, in contrast, is about conscious identity, the personality, and even to a certain extent, the role that you identify as. So when people like ask you what you do or what you're about, and it's kind of like the way that you identify yourself in the world, even the qualities that you identify with. Are you shy? Are you extroverted? Are you creative? Are you passionate? Are you a wallflower? Like all of those things. Maybe you are those things. Maybe a part of it is the way that you present. And so with the Sun making an aspect to Uranus, this could mean a change in the way that you feel about yourself or the way that you present yourself. And then lastly, Mercury will trine Uranus. So Mercury is thought process, communication, right? It's also related to language and symbolism. So I bring up language and symbolism because I think that Mercury can also relate to how it is that we decode messages, how it is that we make sense of life. The moon tends to be associated with the unconscious and your psyche and the messages that you get through dreams and that kind of thing. But we like need a translator for that, right? So Mercury is our translator. Mercury is our conscious mind. So when you remember a dream, moon, then you have to connect that with Mercury, thought process, conscious thought, in order to implement things into your life. And so I wonder if that might be a little bit of what's going on this week, is like a change in perspective, or maybe because the new moon is connected to this aspect, and I'll talk about that more in a second, but like there's something here around your thought process changing, or even just, like new information coming in as well. The other piece of this is that this is happening with Uranus at 7 degrees of Taurus, and all of these planets, as they one at a time pass through that point of 7 degrees of Virgo. 7 degrees of Virgo is it's ruled by Mercury, and this point in Virgo is also within the bound of Mercury as well, and Mercury is exalted in Virgo. So there's like all of this Mercury energy here. It's really interesting. So I think that Mercury will be the most prominent theme within this aspect, even though we have a lot of players in this game. Mercury is the strongest and the most emphasized here. In contrast, Venus is in fall in Virgo. This simply means that Venus is not in a position to do a lot of the normal Venus things in a normal way. So I don't know that relationships are going to be a focus this week when it comes to like wanting freedom in relationships. I think, it could be, depends on what's happening in your birth chart and what's happening in your life right now. But it may be more that you're thinking about relationships, or you're thinking about who it is that you want to be. It may be more, again, of like that mercurial kind of analyzing things. So the biggest question that I have for you with this transit is where or how are you wanting more freedom? Is that something that's happening for you right now? Or where are you changing? What's going on with that? So I'm going to leave that there for now. I'll have more information in the tips. But that's the biggest theme with this, is freedom and change. Then we have our new moon in the sign of Virgo. Oh my gosh, Virgo again. And guess what? It's happening at 7 degrees of Virgo, which is where all of these planets are trining to Uranus. So that means, of course, this new moon is trine to Uranus. It's kind of wild, right? Or I think it's wild at least. So what does that mean? So, okay, let me tell you the date. So the new moon in Virgo, it's at 7 degrees of Virgo. It's Friday, the 30th of August at 3:37 a.m. Pacific time. So new moon, beginning, initiation. New moon is the maximum point of reflection and introversion. When it's new moon, we cannot see the moon. It's dark. Everything is internalized. And this also means everything is internalized, and the unconscious, dreams, intuition are all turned up a notch. Now, when it's a full moon, everything's bright, so the conscious element of life is more in the foreground. Here, intuition is what's really amped up. Now, this can be difficult if you don't have space for that in your life, or if you, if it's a challenge for you. So new moon time is always a good time to do some extra reflection, to pay attention to your dreams, definitely. And it being in the sign of Virgo, Virgo is more practical. It's an earth sign. It's a mutable sign, so it's changeable. Mutable signs are the double-bodied signs. They tend to show when there's like two different possibilities of things, or there's a change from one thing to the other thing. I do find that people with a lot of mutable energy, or when there's a lot of mutable energy happening, like we had last week, it kind of can feel like there's two different things that you're working on, or maybe a ton of different things. So new moon in Virgo, it may feel like you're considering a lot of different options. Like I said earlier, this is happening at the part of Virgo that is within the bound of Mercury. So this emphasizes the mercurial vibe, the vibe around communication and conscious thought, language. Mercury also rules over symbolism and dreams. Let's see, what else do I want to say about that? Oh, I have a quote that I want to share with you for this aspect. I got so excited and I forgot. All right, so this is from Maya Angelou. And she says, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. And I thought that was really perfect for this moon, because I wonder if that may be kind of like the process here, since this new moon is so closely tied to Uranus, where there could be like thinking about a change, and maybe it's something that you can't change. Of course, it's not always appropriate to simply change your mindset. It's not always appropriate to change a thing. You have to decipher what is appropriate for you in whatever it is that's happening in your life right now. But it's definitely something around using discernment and using a more analytical mind because of Virgo. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to the next one, and I won't forget the quote this time. So this is Venus trine Saturn. So this is from Amelia Earhart. She said, the most effective way to do it is to do it. Simple and sweet. So I thought that was perfect for this aspect. I'm digging Venus trine Saturn for a few different reasons. So of course, Venus is in fall in the sign of Virgo. But you know what? That's okay though, because that simply means that Venus things are done in kind of a different way than you would normally expect. So Venus is relationships and beauty and love and allure. When it's in the sign of Virgo, there's more of a practical tone, and it's more about purpose. It's more practical. It's about purpose. It is about also like a system of things. the other part of this that I really like is that with, so this is happening with Venus being at 15 degrees of Virgo. And so at this point in Virgo, Venus is within the bound of Venus. So Venus is in its own bound. And I think that's really perfect because it strengthens Venus, and it gives Venus more dignity to express in a more natural way. So this is a trine, so it's already a more harmonious kind of aspect. And I think that just like, helps Venus kind of like level up a little bit and bring some more to the table, so to speak. Let's talk about Saturn though. So Saturn typically gets a bad rap, right? So Saturn is known as the timekeeper. People often associate Saturn with lessons. I don't particularly like that interpretation because I think it's overdone, and I don't know that life is necessarily about learning lessons. I think that Saturn can show where there is a challenge, where you need to put in some effort in order to get results for things. Saturn can also simply show where there is devotion to something that's really important to you. It can show where things grow over time. Saturn is not about quick fixes. Saturn can also show these, because it's the archetype of the elder or the wise one, or experience that's been gained over doing something again over a long period of time. So especially Venus, Saturn coming together can show where there is someone or something that is helpful to you, where that person or that situation brings you more experience that you don't have yet. Or maybe you're the experienced one and you're sharing that with someone else, or, you're sharing that in a certain situation. Either way, Saturn is definitely this vibe around experience, again, devotion, and like really having something to contribute when the effort is put in. Let's see, what else do I want to say about that? The other piece of this is that Venus will also next week be making a square to Jupiter and an opposition to Neptune. So while this particular little section of Venus's journey is tied to Saturn, which is definitely more practical and more focused on diligence and devotion, and especially connecting with people who have more experience than you in something that you're pursuing, then, can even be like seeking out wisdom or advice or recommendations from someone that has a lot of skill in the thing that you want to know about. That can be beneficial. And next week, there's Jupiter, which is about expansion. Neptune can kind of be about confusion as well. So I only mention that because I want to make sure that we're looking as like, it's not just this one moment in time. It's also like the full journey of what's happening, and those aspects are so close, they're coming up so quickly. So I would say this week is definitely this time to, when it comes to relationships and connecting with others, and even things that you are invested in, things that you value, this is all Venus stuff, to really focus on long-term success, which is Saturn, to putting in the effort, and again, connecting with resources where there's lots of experience there. I think that can be really helpful. And the next week, we'll have the openness of Jupiter and the expansion there. All right, so those are the aspects for this week. I want to share 3 tips with you. So tip number 1 is to cleanse, clean, and declutter earlier in the week. So earlier in the week, especially Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even through like Thursday. So like Monday through Thursday, we're in the dark of the moon. And so this is a fabulous time for any kind of like decluttering or cleansing work, whether that is in your physical space, or if you want to do like a little mini fast, or you want to do some energy clearing, whatever medium you choose, can be a really good time for it. That's really embracing the lunar cycle. Tip number 2 is I want you to ask yourself, when do you feel free? In what situations? And I want you to really sit with this, because I think that we get so into this pattern of thinking that certain things will make us feel free when it's not always the case. And I'm guilty of this as well. So we think, okay, when I have more money, or when I progress further in my career, or when I have more space, I have a nicer place or a nicer car, or I get the promotion or whatever, or I get, this partner that, if so-and-so does this, then I'll feel more free. And that is not always the case. Sometimes it is, but not always. I'm always amazed at the things that actually make me feel free. They're usually not what I would expect. So I want you to sit with that this week, because we have this emphasis on Uranus and freedom, and especially with the new moon, there's new things that may be percolating for you. And again, I really want you to pay attention to your dreams as well, because they may be telling you things that you're not aware of. Tip number 3 is to embrace the effort. And this is about the Venus-Saturn aspect. The other piece of this I didn't really touch on a whole lot is we have trines here that are happening. So there's no harsh aspects, which I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens, because usually, if these were square Uranus and square Saturn, I would be like, oh my gosh, this might be kind of intense, but it's harmonious, and it's things that are flowing very easily. So I think that Saturn can be really helpful to you. I share that because I think Saturn can be helpful. It can be an asset to you. And a trine, especially in someone's birth chart, it can show when something comes so naturally that they don't even do anything with it. So I want you to focus on embracing effort where you really value things, really put your heart into it. All right, so let's pull some cards. And I want to give a special little shout out to Nicole and Sophie, who sent me a really sweet note this week and reminded me how wonderful it is to incorporate quotes into the videos. Again, I haven't done that in a while, so thanks for inspiring me to do that again. So I am going to pull 3 cards, and these can be whatever you want. It can be general for the week. I know a lot of you, I thought it was really interesting lately. I've noticed that a lot of you will do a weekly spread for yourself on your own and then watch the video. And so I'm curious how your weeklies, like your personal weeklies, and then these that I do here line up. And if you already do a weekly spread for yourself or weekly cards, it might be interesting for you to do a yes/no question when I do this here, or something like that. I don't know why that just popped into my head. It's always fun to see different tools and different methods, and how similar or different the answers can be, or the symbols can be. Whoa, put that right there. All right. So if you haven't already, please pick a number between 1 and 3, or decide that all of the cards will be a message for you. Ooh. All right, you ready? So I pulled the Queen of Wands. This is one of my favorite cards. The Queen of Cups, also a fave. This one I pulled reversed. And the Two of Wands. All right. So we'll do one at a time and then all together. So Queen of Wands, this card, it has so much like lioness energy. Queens, any of the court cards, they can symbolize an individual, which can be you or it can be someone in your life. The Queen of Wands is an individual or an energy who has a sense of authority and power, but there's like this warmth there, and there's this passion. Wands is the symbol of passion, and this person is very well respected and loved and adored, and has just like this presence. Where with the Queen of Swords, in contrast, it's more about like sharing ideas and being respected for ideas. The Queen of Cups is more about respect for and like leadership through emotional intelligence, whereas the Queen of Wands here is about leadership and respect and authority through passion and through just simply like your presence. Let's see, what else do I want to say about this? So like a very strong card, a card that emphasizes your presence being important and you being a leader. Super cool card. All right, Queen of Cups. So this card is so beautiful. It's highly intuitive, highly emotional, highly sensitive. Queen of Cups shows when a person really has a lot of emotional intelligence. Again, they are very aware of what's happening, of all of the emotions and the situations that are happening around them. With this being reversed, though, it tends to show up when a person is kind of getting like overrun by their emotions. And it can show either that your intuitive sense is like things are getting scrambled a little bit, or things are like things are kind of like getting twisted in a certain way. Like, for example, maybe there's someone in your life who you feel like something is off with them, and you feel like they're mad at you and they won't say it, but you just like have this feeling and something's not right. So you might think they're mad at you, but maybe they're totally pissed about something else. They're, mad about the way things are going at work, or they have something going on internally that doesn't have anything to do with you. But because you're so sensitive, you're like the signals are getting mixed. So that's just one example. It might not be that way for you, but like that's like there's something here with the intuitive sense that's kind of like either skewing how it is that you can objectively see things, or it's kind of like overrunning your ability to live your life. So that's that. And the Two of Wands, also a really beautiful card. So this card is about looking out to the future. It's about making a decision to move forward. It's about visioning new things. Again, Wands is about passion, and this card also can symbolize travel and things like that. But it's definitely around looking at different possibilities and keeping an open mind. All right, so I think it's really interesting that we have two queens here. We have two queens, and like if you asked a question that involves all three cards, this I would take as the symbol of you. This I would take as like what's happening right now, and then this is kind of like where you're moving into. So if we're looking at it that way, I would say that there's a strong presence here that you have, and there's just maybe like something around your intuition that's kind of like that needs some refinement, or maybe you need more details, but there's definitely a strong message to be more objective if you can, and to do things to nurture yourself, to nurture your sensitivity, so that you can stay connected to your intuition and not get overrun by your sensitivity. So that actually is like a really great segue into something that I wanted to share with you. I'm doing a free 4-part video series that's all about boundaries. As you know, you might know that's one of my favorite topics. So I've gotten so many different questions and really cool feedback whenever I talk about things like codependence or being the alpha energy in the room or setting boundaries. I decided to put all my ideas into one place. So you can find that now. It's called Boundaries with Heart for Empaths, and it's on my website under Neo-Feminine Astrology. And again, it's totally free. It's a little 4-part mini video series. So that's your horoscope for the week. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, share it with a friend. And again, check out that video series if that is something that you're interested in. Boundaries with Heart for Empaths. Wishing you a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.